Okay, so today we are going to discuss about insolvency and revival, which is a very important topic, especially for the finance guys and credit and risk guys. So now, what is insolvency? We all know insolvency is a situation when either an individual or a company is not able to pay back to their creditors. So, but there is a legal definition to it, that is under Corporations Act 2001. Insolvency refers to situations wherein a person or a company is unable to pay all of their debts when they fall due for payment. So, like, I have 5 creditors and I am not able to pay anybody. Then there is a situation arise which is called as insolvency. So we know there are a lot of practical examples, like people have become insolvent and legal proceedings that took place. A lot of cases are there, a lot of examples are there. Now what we are mainly going to discuss is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Banks in India were going through unprecedented times with stressed loan portfolio touching all-time high. So basically why there is a history behind this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. The history is, before it started, something which was observed is banks and NBFC, especially the BFSI sector, was going through huge trouble, especially in terms of delinquency and number of NPAs which they were having in their portfolio. Right? The number of NPAs which they are having in their portfolio. Okay. So that is the root cause of forming IBC 2016. So there was an apprehension that there could be further significant additions as many stressed loan accounts had been disguised as standard. Now the problem is something which used to happen before 2016. I don't know how many of you are aware that the moment a case became NPA, those were not reported, those were internally restructured. So anybody is aware of this situation where the cases were not reported to RBI, but internally restructured. So it's like, so it's like that it became delinquent, it became NPA, then it was restructured and shown as a normal account. Then again, after a few months, it became NPA. Again, it was restructured and shown as a normal account. Internally, many companies used to do that, especially NBFCs, not the banks. Right? Realizing the problem, RBI had attempted to force banks to clean up balance sheet and come out with many regulatory steps aimed at improving banks' ability to deal with such stressed accounts. However, such frameworks were proved unsuccessful. So what happened? Initially, whatever stressed us, correct, they do not want to show losses in their PL because as we know that whenever you mark an account as NPA, you have to create certain provisions for that, right? So they do not wanted to show like anything to RBI. Now, when RBI approached the banks and the NBFCs in a proper manner that you clear off your NPAs, you clear off your delinquency, that turned out not so successful attempt, right? Now, something which is done in a very soft manner, if it doesn't work out, then what do? You have to impose some forcibly, right? In this scenario, Indian government had introduced bankruptcy and insolvency and bankruptcy code, which would consolidate the existing framework and create a new institutional structure. The code created time-bound process for insolvency resolution of companies and individuals, which thereby would help India improve its World Bank insolvency ranking. Now, a very important thing has to be noted here is, one thing is like asking the company to clear their delinquency and NPA. Second important thing is when that is not done, then forcibly IBC is introduced. And also there is some stringent regulations at each and every steps. Now, if you guys remember in 2015, like before IBC also, there were many NBFCs who were not participating in CIBIL. Even before funding, they don't check, they didn't use to check CIBIL. One of the NBFCs is Shriram Transport Finance Company. Even a CIBIL defaulter used to get loan from Shriram. Why? Because they were not checking CIBIL. Anybody had any experience? They were not checking CIBIL. But currently, if you go to Shriram, even for a used car loan, they will check CIBIL. Yashwant, correct me if I'm wrong. You are dealing with multiple financiers.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Currently, Shriram checks CIBIL, right?
Shriram checks CIBIL. Almost each and every banks, they check CIBIL. Banks like nationalized banks, private banks, and even NBFCs. But mostly for the gold loans, most of the banks, they are not checking the CIBIL while issuing the gold loan, but they are reporting to the CIBIL that they have issued the gold loan.
Correct, correct. So gold loan is something which is absolutely secured loan, like the gold is pledged with you at the time, at any point of time, you can auction it. And gold is a very highly appreciable asset. So it gets appreciated like anything. So if you see the trend of, price movement of gold for last 5 years, you'll see there is huge appreciation. Other than that, yeah, tell me.
No, that product, gold loan and ODFD, like overdraft against FD, similar product, they will report in CIBIL post issuance of the facility.
Correct. So when we talk about FD, loan against FD, OD against FD, or a credit card against FD is a good method to enhance CIBIL score also. So suppose my CIBIL score is very poor, for an example, then there is a way that I take a credit card against an FD and start using that and repaying that. It will take around 1 year to get my CIBIL score improved because they don't check CIBIL while initially issuing the credit card because there is a 100% or more than that collateral, which is again a cash equivalent. At any point of time, it can be liquidated. But then the problem is, the advantage is my CIBIL score gets improved within a span of time. Okay. The code created time-bound process for insolvency resolution for companies and individuals, which thereby would help India improve its World Bank insolvency ranking. So earlier, its insolvency ranking was very high, but currently it is better. Now, these are some salient features of IBC 2016. The first one is clear and speedy process for early identification and resolution of financial distress. So the process is much more clear, transparent, and fast. Two distinct resolution process. One is fresh start or insolvency resolution. So one is that like one is insolvency resolution and a fresh start. Second one is only insolvency resolution. Adjudicating authorities are NCLT and DRT, that is National Company Law Tribunal and Debt Recovery Tribunal. Regulator is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India for IPs. Who are IPs? It is insolvency professional agencies and information utilities. Now, who are insolvency professionals? Insolvency professionals are people who are recruited to handle commercial aspects of insolvency resolution processes. So basically, either he is a chartered accountant, normally chartered accountant along with LLB. They are recruited and they take charge on the management, and they participate and observe day-to-day activities of a company which has become insolvent. They only appoint different ARCs and they help in getting buyers for selling those assets in the extreme case, in case of liquidation. Right. Then insolvency professional agencies are they are basically companies of IPs to develop a professional standards and code of ethics. Insolvency professionals members. Information utilities is to process financial information to be used in insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings. Just carefully go through this. There is a framework of IBC adjudicating authority. Now, this is the entire process how IBC 2016 works. One is application with adjudicating authority. Second is appointment of interim resolution professional. So, till the time, the moment a case goes to NCLT and till the time it goes for liquidation, there is need of an interim resolution profession. So, who takes care of the management and who takes care of daily activities. Probably at times with these IPs intervention, companies revives also. At times companies revive. Formation and confirmation of committee of creditors. So there is a committee of creditors which are formed. Preparation of information memorandum by RP. RP means resolution professionals. Then resolution plan proposed and approved by at least 66% majority by creditor. Then what happened? What could be the resolution plan? Resolution plan is either you improve the company's performance by certain strategies, if it is possible, and you liquidate the company. Now, can you tell me any example where a company's performance was improved and then it came out of NCLT? All legal proceedings can be at global level also. One example. You are free to unmute and speak also. Hello. Hey guys, you are there?
What are the questions, sir? Like a company went into deep problem like that.
Which company?
No, Suzlon currently
Correct.
we can say it's like it went into deep problems. In 2008. It even became a penny because that time there was the wind energy thing did not take off. And a lot of places that blade also fell off and it had a lot of negative impact. Now they're coming to come. I think many of the, if you see, as we discussed earlier, Many of the power stocks, I think, will warrant such a thing. They went into trouble and then they're coming out of it.
Correct.
Suzlon could be one example.
Suzlon could be one example.
But I couldn't completely understand your question. You said they have to go into NCLT and they have to come out of it.
It's like revival. Liquidation, there are a lot of examples, but what about revival? That's what I'm saying.
See, even Z could be one example, even it is in NCLT mode. When when the directors have taken money to some other thing and defaulted, so even that is coming out.
Right. So Kamlesh is writing Monet Ispat. Kamlesh, could you throw some light on that? Monet Ispat. They had a factory in Durgapur, my hometown.
The Monet Ispat had a factory in Durgapur, and they were actually making a lot of losses. So after that, JSW Steel took over them, and they reduced the capital of the shareholders. So I think it was 100 raised to 33%. If you are holding 100 shares, they converted into the 33 shares. And currently it is, I don't know the current state of balance sheet there, but the company is running right now.
Okay. I understand. Yeah. Now tell me one thing, like what was the reason for the losses? Like,
no, sorry, that I don't know, because that's the case I had read in the newspaper. So what was the reason and analysis and everything? I don't know, sorry.
Okay. And what about this company? I think Bhushan Power Kunal has written. Kunal, could you throw some light on this?
Yeah, I have no information.
Kunal, unmute.
I think Bhushan Steel also went into same problems. Eventually, it got acquired by Tata Steel.
Yeah, Bhushan, right, you are absolutely right. The point is that what is the reason?
I think one of the reason, if I'm right, was see, they are into steel industry, again cyclical, and they borrowed too much of money for a capacity expansion. And then say once they completed the capacity expansion and they had a huge debt, then the realization for the steel was very bad because the market was in the bottom of the cycle, demand supply cycle. And once then they went into bankrupt, they couldn't pay the lenders and they went for a NCLT or reconstruction. Then Tata identified it. Then when the cycle was turning up, they paid up the money and they enjoyed the profits. As you know, last year Tata made, I think, 45,000 crores as profit from the steel industry. So expanding when the market is down, and then they had to pay a lot of interest. Then they sunk, and then somebody rescued them and they made the money. That's it.
Kunal is saying it is a diversion of fund by the promoters. It could be one reason.
Yeah, that is again plus. Yeah.
That is again, there is one more possibility. Another thing what I feel is that there was a time when Indian steel was becoming costlier compared to the outside steel. Plus the major input, one of the key factor in steel industry is power plant. So you need to have your own power plant. Within that, either you take power from outside or you take your, plus the blast furnace, that requires a lot of coal, where availability of the coal at a cheaper price, unless you were bringing it from abroad, like I think they were bringing it from Malaysia or something. So otherwise, it was becoming a problem. That was true. And globally, Indian steel prices was considered to be high at a point of time. A time came and steel industry was not in a good shape overall. So obviously diversion of the fund could be there. That has happened to not only Monet Ispat, or there were many steel plants which started operational, at least in some parts of West Bengal, like Durgapur, which I know. So they started with an intention to divert money. They took land, they took the subsidy from the government. Eventually, they created a situation just to show to the media that I had to shut down shop because of this problem, trade union problem, this problem, that problem. Ultimately, they had taken money and they have run away. Apart from Monet is a big name. Apart from Monet, there were other small steel plants which also came up, but they did the same thing. They actually diverted the fund, took government's money, took banks' money, and they have diverted the fund. That's it. That's what they had done. Right.
So just to add, what happened was during those times, the Koreans and the Chinese, they were doing a lot of dumping in India. And
correct.
Later the government, and particularly India, had some kind of FTA with Japan and Korea. So they were allowed to, dump at low rates. And China was also dumping. And when they blocked China, what China did is they moved it to Indonesia or some other country, and they were pushing it. So now the government has, turned the screws on all them. And apart from that, as you told, for particularly steel, the normal coal, which is coming from Coal India, is not good. They need what is called as a pet coke, which will have a higher energy, which actually gets imported from Australia. And that is another reason why the thing called. And now situation has changed, because what has happened is the steel industry is a pollution kind of industry, steel and cement. So China has envisaged onto the green factor. So they are reducing these steel factories in their country. So which in turn the supply side is coming less from China. So automatically the price is actually going up. So these are multiple reasons why steel is doing well. One is a commodity side has changed, and China is not dumping, and the custom duty has been increased. And China is not encouraging these industries due to pollution and other green factors.
So, you are right.
So the entire macro is actually helping the industry, plus the uptick in the India infrastructure demand, like so many rail lines and blah blah blah, they are all made. So you need all these long products and other things from the steel. So its overall macro situation has changed.
You are right, absolutely right. So China is basically their main. They are surviving on manufacturing, basically, countries like China. So if they stop manufacturing, a lot of people will become jobless. So this is a story for, I'm saying, say around 3 to 4 years back, when they had to keep on manufacturing. Now what happened? They were selling at a loss, fair enough, but they were dumping goods to the countries like India. So be it in steel, be it other items like electronics goods, or any any kind of machineries, even Chinese toys, whatever it comes. And that's a true fact. So this is a delinquency data before IBC 2016. So just quickly go through this. We have spoken about gross NPA ratio, net NPA ratio. Stressed asset to advance is nothing but total delinquency by advance. Gross NPA ratio March. I think this has come twice. This month will be different. Now this is a legal framework of IBC, where a law and what it deals with. So Presidency Town Insolvency Act, there was certain law. From where IBC has come up is Presidency Town Insolvency Act 1909, Provincial Insolvency Act 1920, and Indian Partnership Act, applicable to individual and partnerships. Companies Act 2013 on 1956 deals with rehabilitation, revival, winding up of companies, only court supervised winding up available now under 2013 Act, under Proceedings Act under this code. So basically, if a company wants to wind up or if there is need to wind up a company. Limited Liability Partnership Act, that is LLP Act 2008, and LLP winding up and dissolution rules as per 2012. Okay. For LLPs, there is no provision for rehabilitation or revival. SICA is again revival or rehabilitation of only Sikh Industries companies. There is SURFACE, DRT. Okay. Now, what are the objectives of IBC 2016? One is to promote entrepreneurship. So how IBC, being a rehabilitation activity, how does it promote entrepreneurship? Any kind of like how does it promote entrepreneurship? How does it promote entrepreneurship? It promotes entrepreneurship in a way that suppose I start my business and I'm not able to run it properly, then in the worst scenario, my company goes into NCLT. IP is a kind of consultants, or this insolvency proceeding is a kind of consultancy where they hold your hand and initially try to revive your company. And they guide you with proper techniques by which you can revive your company. So basically it promotes entrepreneurship. Next one is to make credit available. So how does it make credit available? Because think in a bigger picture. A company, a bank has 100 customers, out of which 20 has become delinquent. Now, if those 20s are the people or those 20 customers is a gray area or a dark area in the bank's entire portfolio and the asset. Now what happens is a significant amount of money is stuck with those NP accounts. If the same money can be retrieved either by revival or by winding up, then obviously bank will have the fund to lend more. The system will have liquidity, and naturally it can lend more and the credit will be available in the entire ecosystem. Right? To balance the interest of all stakeholders by consolidating and amending the existing laws related to insolvency and bankruptcy. So one thing is that, so how many stakeholders are there? One is promoter. How many stakeholders are there who are generally involved in this? Guys, can you please write in the chat box? Vendors, end users, banks, investors, promoters, debtors, lender, bank, correct. So many stakeholders are there. Creditors, shareholders, absolutely correct. So these are the stakeholders of the business. These are the stakeholders of the business. Now what happens? When you have stakeholders, so every stakeholder is having certain interest in the business, right? Now, as a resolution professional, their interest needs to be managed, right? Consolidated, amend the existing law to balance the interest of all the shareholders and the creditors. For an example, this company has having one debtor, one creditor. Now the company has become insolvent, where company is supposed to get money from Mr. A and has to give money to Mr. B. Now there is interest of Mr. A as well, some saying of Mr. A, some saying of Mr. B, that needs to be balanced, probably by some negotiation. Guys, just give me 2 minutes. Yeah. So like coming to a conclusion, coming to a negotiation point where B says that I will pay this much, A will say I am okay with A, B. A says I'll pay this much, B says, B, that is the creditor, says I am okay with this much. This kind of balancing of interest is something which is done in IBC. That is an objective of IBC. Next is to reduce the time of resolution for maximizing the value of assets. So what happened when without an IP, if court decides to sell off all the assets, then probably it will be a distressed sale. And at a distressed sale, what happens? Your assets get sold off at a much reduced price, and the bank is always at a loss. If there is IP who actually publish notice in newspaper and bring at least around 8 to 10 different parties for purchasing of the assets during liquidation activity, then what happens? You come to a reasonable pricing, and at least you can recover from the bank side, you can recover maximum amount of losses. So at least your loss gets much more reduced, right? So that is the benefit. And also the timeline gets reduced. The key theme of the code is to consolidate all the laws related to insolvency of companies, limited liability entities, unlimited liability partnerships, and individuals. Now, what are the cases ideal for IBC 2016? When an account has become irregular and bank is of the view that borrower is taking matter casual. So what happens? Any example of this? Account has become irregular and the borrower is taking matter casual. Borrower is not interested. He said, okay, fair enough, we'll take it like this. Any example? A recent example. Anil Ambani. Okay, great. Anything else? Okay. So Anil actually did not take it very casually, but honestly speaking, in terms of capacity, he was stuck. Byju's is again yeah, Byju's, did they neglect actually? Byju's was again, I think, having a problem of overhiring. No, debtors don't ask money, creditors ask money. Acha, they put, whom you are talking about? A DHFL, yeah. DHFL could be an example, right? But yeah, Anil Ambani, you can definitely say initially the situation was not that bad. So they were creditors. So initially when the situation was not bad and it was slightly relaxed, that is true. That is true. India Bulls is again an example. So government of Pakistan okay. Now when there are multiple lenders and client is keeping account of few lenders regular but others irregular. So what happens? 10 lenders have lent money to this company. Around 4 lenders as such who are being paid regularly, but 6 members as such who are not being paid. Now what happens when you appoint an IP? Then IP is the person who is responsible to coordinate with all the lenders. At that time, whatever cash flow or part of cash flow that needs to be distributed among the lenders is distributed equally, because the management control is in the hand of IP and he decides to distribute it equally or in certain proportions, whatever it is, based on the funding. Right. Next one is when the lenders are not able to reach consensus quickly. So there are certain cases where there is a conflict between the lenders, right? They do not reach at a consensus that somebody is saying that no, revival is possible, rehabilitation is possible, and some lender is saying no, it is not possible to rehabilitate, rather it's better to wind it off, liquidate all these assets, sell off and give our money back. Whereas some are saying no, there is a fair chance that the firm will survive if so in this case, IP is a professional, I said, or an insolvency professional agency is a group of professionals having relevant experience, domain knowledge, who takes care of this, who finally, coordinates with all and bring them on the table and bring them to a consensus mode where they decide something which is accepted by all the lenders, and then only, they take step accordingly. Next is when certain lenders with senior debt, first charge holders or other privileges are dominant and unfair to junior debt. So what happens is we had discussed about syndication, right? Yesterday we discussed about syndication. What is syndication? Group of lenders with a lead lender, correct? With a lead lender. So lead lender is basically having more say. Why he has more say? How come the lead lender has more say? Because he has given more money. He has given more money, right? That's why he is having more say into it. Now, next point is, since he has given more money, or since that particular lender has given more money, they are more dominant. And whenever a cash flow happens, they are taking their money as per their wish. Probably leaving very little amount for the other lenders or almost no amount for the other lenders. So here a third party intervention is needed in order to properly distribute the money among all the lenders. Make sense? Okay. Next is when, okay, TRA mechanism is not benefiting to some lenders in just manner. Now, in business loan, you say BL means business loan, right? No, acha, balance sheet. No, balance sheet will show the debt. Balance sheet will show the debt portion. Debt portion. In the schedules, you will get the name of the lenders, and if that is a syndicate loan, then obviously you can identify that who has given how much. With that, if that is a syndicate loan, obviously along with the sanction letter and all these things, we got to know who is the lead letter. So when the amount required is too high, it goes for a syndication. Okay. Next is TRA mechanism is not benefiting some lenders in just manner. So what is TRA mechanism? What is TRA? What is TRA, guys? Can you please write in the chat box? No. No. It's not timely solution addresser. It's not that. Anybody else? We discussed about TRA in one of the sessions. No, don't need to ask ChatGPT. I'm going to tell you. Don't worry. You don't need to do that. Here is trust and retention account. So if you guys remember in one of the sessions, we had a discussion about what is TRA account and what is escrow account. Do you remember that? So I'll just write, open my notepad. TRA is trust and retention account. Right? What is that? What is a TRA account? Can you write on the chat box? Do not refer to ChatGPT. If you don't remember, fair enough. I'm saying, right? So I got a contract from NHAI for road construction, right? Now I need around 50 CR. Okay. It's a kind of project financing. Now there could be, how does the bank assures payment? How does the bank assures payment? So bank assures payment that open a bank account with the following participants. Who are the participants? One is the borrower. Second one is the lender. And third one is the bank where account is open. Now, if the lender himself is the bank, then obviously the account will be opened in their bank. But if the lender is a non-banking entity, then there has to be a bank where the TRA account needs to be open. And while you open the TRA, you get a letter from NHAI that all the payments will be credited to this account. This account, right? This is one way. So what happens? NHI is making payment of say around 50 lakhs. It comes to TRA account. Whenever any payment NHI is making, they will not make in any account other than the TRA account. That is what NHI is confirming with that letter. And in any case, if the borrower wants to change the bank account, they have to take a written confirmation from the lender. Say the TRA account is open in Axis and the borrower wants to go for ICICI, a written confirmation needs to be taken from the lender. Another important thing of TRA is there. Anybody is aware we discussed this. Another important factor of TRA is there. What is that? What is that factor? Yeah, that is one, but I am talking about something else in terms of control. No, escrow is a different kind of account. I'll come to escrow account later. Escrow is not TRA. So any payment or any outflow from TRA account to be done with permission of the lender. So suppose Axis Bank has opened the TRA account and Tata Capital has funded that project. So the process is borrower has to pay. Borrower has to make a payment. To any vendor, any vendor. What they will do? Borrower will request lender and Axis Bank. Say we are taking Axis Bank. Lender will check the invoice and permit by mail to Axis. Axis will remit fund. This is a process which is called control. So the lender has control on the fund outflow, right? But now, as per you, since the lender has control, then what is the issue? How this mechanism may not work, or in which way the mechanism may not work for which an IP needs to intervene. Write this in chat box. This is a very important concept, especially in resolution, debt recovery. what could be the situation where in spite of the entire payment being routed with permission of the lender, also there can be an issue, and why an IP needs to interfere? Yes, Anand, Praveen, any idea? Lender will not be, lender can be biased. Yeah, that can be one situation where lender is not approving the bills. Could be. So one reason, one possible reason is lender is biased. Second, anybody? No, technical competency of the lender, how it is coming in the TRA account. Like exactly, if you could explain it.
Yes, what I mean to say is, say somebody, as you said, say setting up a refinery and then importing those kind of materials. So the lender is more a financial like institution. So how will he know, like, okay, this is the value for the goods, or how will he validate the cost? See,
Okay.
he may not be a cost consultant, right? You need a techno-commercial cost consultant to validate, if technically it is correct.
So you mean to say that probably they have raised a bill for NHAI, where there is a dispute between NHAI and this person, this borrower, saying that there are some technical issues in the work which they have done. And banker, being a pure commercial guy, is not able to understand. Correct. So they recruit IPAs where they might get a consultation from a technical consultant who can say whether the issue raised by NHAI is correct or unnecessarily they are harassing the borrower. You want to say that, right?
Yeah, and not only that, I'm just telling, like, okay, they're importing certain items, so at a certain cost. So how will Tata Capital understand if that is the actual cost, or the material is correct, or whatever the productivity that is expected from it has been assured it will deliver? So these are all technical things.
So operational competence, you would say.
Yeah, operational competence, but the valuation of what they are buying, all that they should know. Will they always know is the question, depending upon the type of industry and the products they import.
Okay, understood. Anything else? So the point was where TRE mechanism does not work. Anything else is coming into the mind? One is cash flow from NHA. And the borrower is also helpless. It's an issue. Right? You have open TRA account. You have full control. But if there is issue in the cash flow itself, then how do you recover your payment? How do you recover your EMI? So what happens, this might not be fully, solved by the IP, but definitely the IP can take it up along with the terms and conditions that, see, we have funded the project and NHI is unnecessarily delaying the payment. Could be a situation. And at times there are many borrowers or the IPs on behalf of the borrowers, they file a suit against this kind of principles. Now, this is all about TRA account. What is an escrow account? Somebody said, just we need to have a clear idea. What is escrow account? What is an escrow account? How it differs from TRA account? Don't refer to ChatGPT, not required. I'll tell you, but you first try. So borrower has no control in TRA as well. The only difference between TRA and escrow is in the number of participants. No, Yashwa. So what happens in TRA account? There are 3 participants: borrower, lender, and the bank where the account is open. In escrow, there is an additional participant, that is NHI. So in escrow, a tripartite agreement is signed by 3 parties. One is borrower, lender, and the bank where the account is opened. That is in TRA. In escrow, the agreement is signed by all these 4 parties, NHI and other 3 parties, where everyone signs and come into a consensus. Generally, escrow is more secured compared to TRA because NHI is also signing, right? That whatever money I will give, I will put it in the account, escrow account, and I am ready to sign an agreement also, escrow agreement. But what happens? Normally, companies of this stature like NHAI, they do not sign escrow agreement. They refuse or abstain to sign escrow agreement. They don't want all this hassle. They said, I can give a letter that we will remit in this account. That's it. I can give a letter. And based on that letter, you can open a TRA account, but you cannot open a escrow account. This is a basic difference. Otherwise, the entire mode of operation and everything is quite similar to TRA. Quite similar to TRA account. The only difference is this two. This one. Right? Clear? So a situation may arise where even the escrow or TRA mechanism is not working. You want to take a snip of this? Anybody wants to take a snip of this can take it. Then I'll go to the next sheet. Okay, clear up to this much is clear?
A small question, is it okay?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, escrow, as you mentioned, it is a tripartite agreement.
No, it's not a tripartite. TRA is a tripartite.
TRA is a tripartite. Okay.
Escrow is not a tripartite. Escrow has 4 participants. Tri means 3.
Correct. So that was the question.
So here you can see escrow has 4 participants. TRA has 3 participants.
Okay. Normally, what I have heard as a, like when I was working in the bank, if a seller and a buyer has a dispute, they go to a bank and open an escrow account where banks monitor the transaction as per the agreement between the buyer and the seller.
Yeah. So what happens is that I was into project financing. In project financing, basically what happens, for any kind of project, be it a road construction project, be it an alternative energy project, the funding will be done only if an escrow or TRA account is open. And that is regularly monitored. Otherwise, funding will not be done. So here there is no dispute, but the only thing is that funding will not be given.
Okay. Similarly, RERA account as well, right? For the, especially for the builders, it will be an escrow account mostly.
I'm sorry, come again, please.
RERA account.
RERA account is RERA account. Is it an escrow account actually?
It is an escrow account. There will be 2 accounts opened in the banks, both the current accounts. Whatever the funds comes from the home buyers, it will be transferred to an escrow account first, and 30% is kept in the escrow account, and 70% is given to the builder for construction purposes.
Yeah, so 70% if it is given to the builder, there is a thumb rule of 30-70. But correct. In normal project financing, there is no thumb rule. It is only based on the actual bills, and even if it is required, the bills needs to be thoroughly verified that whether the bill is genuine bill or not. See, there can be, imagine a situation. I have a vendor. I have made a good setting with him. I said, you raise a bill against me, 5 lakhs. He has raised a bill on me, 5 lakhs. I show it to the bank. I make the bank transfer 5 lakhs to the vendor's account. Then out of that 5 lakhs, vendor, deducts his tax amount or something, up bare minimum amount, and returns the entire money back to me, which I take it in a different account. Can happen or not?
It can happen.
So that is the another problem which this TRA or escrow is having. Okay. That is another problem, which is intentional problem. You take money from the bank, you withdraw money from your account by providing false bill. And actually you cannot doubt because the money is going to vendor's account, but there is an internal understanding between the vendor and the borrower.
But there will be some schedule of transaction at different stages of a project. The funds has to be transferred.
What happens normally? Okay. Even for stationery, for that particular project, stationery, the bill has to come to the bank. The bill has to come to the lender. Even if you want to make payment for stationeries, 500 rupees, then also the bill has to come to the lender. So one is stages of construction. How much closely you are monitoring the stages and how much closely you are monitoring the construction activities. That's why banks have their own engineer as well. Plus they have their technical consultants who keeps on monitoring the project. Right?
Correct.
Plus, no, yes, those are the things which you can monitor, but you cannot monitor stationaries. As stationaries for individual, it can be 500. For a corporate or for a project, it is not a stationary amount into 500. It could go to around, say around 15,000, 20,000. Or might be some other kind of expenses, which is not a direct expense for the project. It's difficult to monitor. Right?
Yes, yes, got it.
Okay. Cases ideal for IBC 2006 continued when security coverage is low or very difficult to realize. So this is a case of overfunding. When you have very low collateral or low security, and you have almost nil chance to realize what you have lent. When lenders apprehend that account is likely to go bad and borrower can siphon away funds or strip assets. So when lenders apprehend that account is likely to go bad and borrower can siphon away funds. How they can siphon away? I just discussed. They make a good understanding with the vendors and they starts providing wrong bills or fabricated bills to the lender. Cases where SURFACE or RDDB cannot be applied, but still the account is showing signs of stress needs resolution. So initial level of delinquency has not become an NPA. When lenders doubt about integrity or managerial capabilities of the existing promoters, one is that integrity, which we talked about, that probably they can provide fake bills or fabricated bills and they take money, withdraw money from their accounts indirectly in a different route. And the next one is the managerial capabilities of the existing promoters are also important. How it is important? Because they are not able to manage the business. If they are not able to manage the business, somebody has to intervene. If I'm not able to manage business, bank is not bothered till the time I am paying back money. But the moment I am becoming a defaulter, then obviously, somebody has from the bank side will intervene at least to streamline the entire process till my cash flow becomes proper, right? Another one is when lenders expect genuine interest for change of management. So this is a case where the lender has understood that this management is not able to properly run the business and will not be able to repay the debt. So there is a need for change of management. And then obviously an IP is recruited and they take charge of that business. So SURFACE is something which happens at a very high stage of delinquency. So just I'll give you one example. For an example, there are few methods. One is EMI bounce. So just one EMI bounce. Bank strategy is send a letter, call the customer, right? Follow up. Next is, it is not recovered. Second EMI bounce. Now it is 60 plus DPD. What they will do? Send a letter, follow up, or aggressive follow up. Right? Even they can say send a legal letter or LRN. What is LRN? Anybody has idea about LRN? Any idea about LRN? It is loan recall notice. So you want to recall the loan. You want to recall the loan. That yes, I had extended you a loan of 10 lakhs. I don't want to continue relationship with you because there is a trend of delinquency which has been seen. This is the entire outstanding as on date. You pay the money back. And this LRN is issued by the authorized legal vendor of the bank. Right? Next stage is when it becomes an NPA. Say NPA, you can simply send legal recovery notice. When the NPA is continued for a long time, there can be a SURFACE Act. So where SURFACE Act is not applicable, which is an initial level of delinquency. But generally banks don't go for a SURFACE Act. Right? These are initial level because they also don't want to spoil the relation with the customer. But they can observe that there is a genuine trend of delinquency. So suppose a customer has bounced one EMI, has not paid that in that particular month. He has bounced second EMI also and not paid. And in the third month, he has cleared 2 EMIs. Again, for 1 month, he has paid. Again, for next 2 months, he has not paid and cleared. Now, what do you infer from this trend? And that too also he has cleared with a lot of follow-ups. What do you infer from this trend? So it's like, so seasonal business could be one, cyclical business could be one, but cyclical business, then there is something which should have been done at an initial period of time, that if the business is cyclical, then what they should have done? They should have done a repayment schedule which is not equated EMI, but which should be in sync with the nature of business. Right. Another thing is that, could I say this is an operational inefficiency? Inefficiency. Could I say that? Correct. Could I say that diversion of fund? Can I say it is an intentional? So now, since bank has identified the trend, they have to be cautious. Though the case is not worthy of taking to SURFACE, but they think that somebody should be involved. Okay. Yes, Durga, could it be possible? Definitely. Definitely possible. Okay. Next one is when lenders doubt the integrity, that's what we discussed, and managerial capacity. Okay. Now this is the, just go through this. You can take a snip as well, but you will get anyhow, you will get the PPT. The charges which are there. Cost of insolvency proceedings. And who is bonding the cost? Who is taking the hit? These are the advantages of IBC. What is that? One is creditors in control as most decision making with the lenders. So creditors, they help in making decision. IPs help in making decision with the lenders, with the creditors. Next is time bound and quick solution for stressed assets and NP accounts. So it is much more, the solution is quicker, because if you take it to court directly, the solution will take a lot of time, considering the number of cases pending and the judges availability and all. Right. But this process is time bound and the process is much more faster. Next is change of management is possible by IBC. Next is brings financial lenders to a platform. So you bring all the financial lenders in a single platform. So which helps in a quick decision rather than individually discussing with all the lenders. Next is prepare and examine resolution plan by professionals appointed by creditors, ensuring fearless decision making. So what happens? The decision making is much more apt as per the situation, and the professionals are appointed by creditors. Final approval by NCLT, that is a legal entity. So less stress, fear of accountability and vigilance, because since a government authority is involved, so nothing to worry. Fair chance to viable and sustainable units for time-bound revival. So even if there is a thin possibility for reviving the unit, obviously the insolvency and bankruptcy code ensures that is done so that it doesn't get liquidated, right? And even if it is liquidated, the funds are fairly distributed. And the government dues to get the last priority. First initial dues will go to the creditors as per the proportion of their investment. Next is protection of assets of secured borrowers with maximization of realization. So, because as we have discussed that IP, they help in identifying a potential buyer for all the assets. They negotiate with multiple buyers and get the best price out of it. Then obviously the maximum realization happens. Plus there is a positive support from government for realization and resolution of NPA. This is a difference between SURFACE and IBC. Just quickly go through it. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Then I'll explain. Yeah. So SurfaceSea doesn't consider revival under IBC. So SurfaceSea is much more aggressive in nature. It doesn't even consider that there is a chance of revival. But IBC first considers revival. They first think that the unit can be revived. Next one is SurfaceSea doesn't provide control with creditors, while IBC provides the same through IRP. So there is no control of creditors in SurfaceSea. SurfaceSea is directly towards the borrower. SurfaceSea doesn't provide priority of payment to secured creditors over all government and statutory dues, but IBC does that. Under SurfaceSea, physical possession passes on to lenders, obligating them to arrange for security and maintenance. Under IBC, it becomes responsibility of an independent agency, right? So whenever there is a liquidation and all these things, then it becomes the obligation of lender. For IBC, the insolvency professionals, they arrange all these liquidation activities and everything, including the buyers. SurfaceSea provides exclusive power to the secured creditors and also differentiates between the first charge and second charge holders, while in IBC, all the financial creditors are considered at par. Now, what is the difference between first charge and second charge? Anybody can write in the chat box or even unmute themselves and speak up. What is the difference between first charge and second charge? So as per you, it is syndication facility only. So not exactly, not always, but can it be a pari passu charge also? It can be a pari passu charge also, right? Where two lenders have created charge on the same asset, where one is a first charge holder and another is second charge holder. So whenever in case of liquidation, the first charge holder is given priority and the second charge holder is always having less priority compared to the first charge holder. Under IBC, quick change of management is possible, while under SurfaceSea, change of ownership management is possible, but it is quite cumbersome because it is totally through court. SurfaceSea process is more time consuming because court is involved, government authorities are involved. Legal administrative hurdles involves DM, local police station, trade unions is passed on to independent process. So if you are going for IBC, then it is insolvency professionals or insolvency professional agencies that take care of all these, all those stakeholders, including the DM, local police station, trade unions, everything. So this is a case study of General Motors. General Motors is one of the renowned name in the world of auto industry. Some of the famous brands are Opel Astra, Opel Corsa, Chevrolet. What went wrong with GM is some key pointers. GM makes cars people don't want. GM was too slow to innovate because of its size. GM was too bureaucratic and unable to adjust to changing markets. GM's dealer network is too large. Now tell me one thing. Can you relate GM to an Indian automaking company? The same points almost can be applicable to an Indian automaker company. Could you name it? Hindustan Motors. Hindustan Motors, correct, Pilar. So they thought ambassador is the king, that doesn't need any kind of changes either in design or anything, and simultaneously they are out of market. So what are the remedial measures which has been taken? One is the company identified the good business units and transferred them to a newly formed company. So what they had done, they formed a newly formed company and the good performing business units have been transferred. Was able to get $45 billion government funding. Agreement with government and GM's board to do the new company plan. A qualified successor in place, Mr. Freeze. Treasury agreed to fully fund the new company with equity. In June 2009, GM filed for bankruptcy in New York with 82 billion assets and 173 billion liabilities, largest bankruptcy in the world at that point of time. New GM exited bankruptcy protection on July 10, 2009 in a mere 40 days. The company got its fresh start using the new company plan, and industry was saved with government funding from both Bush and Obama. Right? This is what they had done. These are the financials of, just have a look, financials of GM. Okay. And that's all for this session. Any input for me?
So just one query, Anand, here.
Yeah.
See, where will this, for the listed companies, this NCLTs and IBCs, possibly can show where it will be listed, these things, particularly for the listed company.
I didn't get it.
See, if I say a listed company is under NCLT or IBC, like, is there any particular website where we can find the names?
You can Google it. You can Google it. In open source, it is available.
Okay.
Okay.
Because sometimes they are also like good investment opportunities when they actually come for a takeover. If they're listed space, actually.
Yeah, obviously, those are good opportunities.
Okay, because NCLT found that you have to go to every region to pick up that information. Like it's in Hyderabad, depending upon where the company is, you don't have a centralized database. That's what I understand.
So, I understand. So those are just, you have to slightly explore the open sources.
Okay. Have you tried, sir, to get a list?
No, in fact, like I didn't feel the need to try that which are the, like bankrupt companies. It comes in the news. If you keep your eyes a bit open, you will get it.
But somewhere they would have registered. This process is somewhere they would have registered them under one of the IBC and some classification they would have registered.
There is a list which comes out, which is known as RBI defaulter list. Okay. You can easily go there and you can check it.
Okay. RBI defaulter list, then I have to find out who is listed in that.
It is available in open source.
Okay.
You just go to Google.
I subscribe to one magazine, but that is not giving. Merger and Acquisition, one magazine is there. M&A, one magazine I have subscribed, but they are also not giving.
RBI defaulter list.
The only thing is, okay, this will give unlisted, but then.
No.
These are all listed.
Everything. Yeah.
These are all listed. Okay. NSE listed or BSE listed.
So you can find it. Another suggestion is from Tanuma.
Yeah, I think Tanuma is...
All listed details will come.
Okay. Thanks, Tanuma.
Okay. Another question I think was asked by Kunal is for companies going through the NCLT or the IBC, the tax loss also carries to the new entity? Probably yes. That too also depends. Probably yes. Mostly yes. Rather, mostly yes. Because if there is a transfer of assets and liabilities, both has to be transferred. Okay. Any more query or any more input? Guys, when should we connect next? Because I think we are closing night now.
10 o'clock, sir.
So if it is written off, then fair enough. But if the change is happening before write-off, then what? If it is written off before the change, before the transfer of the units, then it is something else. But if you are taking up an already existing company, obviously you'll take it up with all the loss, profits, liabilities, assets, right? But then also, since you have asked the query, I will recheck once. Okay, anything else, guys? Should we connect back at 10:15 sharp? Because we are closing at 9:44, 9:45. So 10:15 is the time, right? We will get back at 10:15, right? Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks. Bye.